Good morning. I don't know if you know, but today is a very special day. It's called Good Friday, and we love Fridays at school, but today's an even more special Friday. In fact, there's a lot of our Easter story that we've been working up towards this week that is all going to come together today. And so we're going to actually kind of forego and kind of skip some of our normal calendar time today so that we can get right into some of our stories. And then at the end, we're going to talk a little bit about our caterpillars and the transformation that they're making. So we're going to kind of backtrack a little bit, because if today is Friday, that means yesterday was Thursday. And in our in our Easter coloring book all week, we've been kind of doing the different parts of the story. And actually, a lot of this in our story took place on Thursday evening. But before the part in our story where Jesus prayed, Jesus had actually invited the disciples to a special dinner. And we're going to talk just a little bit about that. The Last Supper. This would have been before Jesus went to pray in the garden. It says, then Jesus did something else. He picked up a loaf of bread and he blessed it. Then he broke it into pieces and he gave the bread to his disciples to eat. Jesus said, this is my body. Every time you do this, think of me. And in the same way, he took a cup of wine and blessed it. He gave it to the disciples to drink. This is my blood. It is poured out to forgive the sins of many. The time has come for me to go away. Where I am going, you cannot go yet. I am going to heaven to prepare a wonderful new home for you. But I will return to you soon. At first, you will be very sad, but do not be frightened. Soon you will understand, and you will be filled with joy. And then we go into the part of the story that we've already read. But just as a little reminder, let's keep going so that you can kind of review what you've already colored in your book. Judas went to the leaders, and Judas had been at the Last Supper with Jesus and the disciples. But Judas left that dinner and he went to the leaders and he asked, how much will you pay me if I help you capture Jesus? They said 30 pieces of silver. So Judas took the money and made a plan. Jesus had gone to his favorite garden. And what was he doing there? He was praying. He said, Father, if it is your will, I am ready to give my life so that all the people who trust in me will be saved from their sins. Soon, Judas arrived with some soldiers, and Peter wanted to protect Jesus. But Jesus said, no, I must allow this to happen. So all the disciples ran away, and all the soldiers arrested Jesus. And then remember, they took him in front of the leaders. Let's see what happens. They took Jesus to the leaders, and the leaders said, you say that you are the Son of God. We do not believe you. Jesus was kind of put on trial. And then the soldiers took charge of Jesus. They made him carry a big wooden cross, and they took him to a place called the Skull, Golgotha. There they nailed Jesus to the cross, and Jesus died on the cross. Do you remember the craft we made the other day? Doesn't this kind of look like it in our Jesus storybook, in our beginner's Bible? Everyone who loved Jesus was very sad, but they forgot something important, that Jesus had said he would see them again soon. Now I have some juice and I have some crackers to symbolize what Jesus used the night of the Last Supper when he invited his closest friends. It was almost like a goodbye party. But he invited his closest friends and he said, "This is my body." And he said that they used wine. He said, "This is my blood." And he shared that with the disciples. And now at your churches, I bet your parents, maybe some of you, but I bet your parents take part in communion, which is kind of the Last Supper, and we call it communion. And they drink the elements and eat the elements, kind of as a remembrance of what Jesus did, for us. His body was broken and his blood poured out. But we have juice and crackers. Maybe we'll use bread. Some people use unleavened bread. But as long as we take part in it with the right mindset and kind of in the right way, then we know that we are remembering what Jesus did for us. Miss Connie usually does the Last Supper when we're at school, and so I just wanted to show a little bit of what she would have done with you. But let's get our Easter story book, our coloring book out, and we're getting ready to have my favorite part of the story. So we've done pages 1, where Jesus prayed, 2, where he was arrested, 3, where he was taken in front of the leaders and in front of Pilate, 4, where Jesus was hanging on the cross with the thieves. Now we're on page 5. Let's see what happens. Jesus had died on the cross. It was Friday, the day that Jesus hung on the cross, Good Friday. And the sky had turned black. Jesus had died, and he was taken off of the cross and put into a tomb. Let's see. It says, after Jesus died, some of his friends laid his body in a big tomb, They sealed it shut with a large round stone. Soldiers guarded the tomb. There they are. 3 days later, the earth shook, and an angel of the Lord came down from heaven and pushed the stone away from the tomb. Then the angel sat on the stone. When the soldiers saw the angel, they fell to the ground. I don't know if they were surprised. I don't know if they were scared. Probably a little bit of both, don't you think? Can you imagine seeing an angel? The angel was probably huge and probably had such a bright light around it. Mary was walking to the tomb with some of her friends, and they saw the angel who said, "Do not be afraid. Jesus is not here. He has risen. Go and tell Peter and the other disciples that Jesus is alive." And on their way, the women saw Jesus. I bet they didn't even really think that it was really him at first. I bet they were confused. But when they realized that it was Jesus, it says they fell to their knees and they worshiped him. Jesus smiled and said, "Go tell the others that I will see them in Galilee." So Mary ran to tell her friends, the disciples. On Sunday morning, we get to celebrate the best part of the story, that Jesus is not in the tomb anymore. The tomb is empty, and that Jesus is alive. So all the sad part of our story is behind us, and we get to celebrate the exciting part of the story. So page 5 is our tomb. So you can color the mountains and the rocks behind that and color the tomb. And then page 6 is the empty tomb. And do you see the angel up there? And who in the story went to the tomb? Do you remember her name? Her name was Mary Magdalene. And she was sad at first. She thought somebody had actually stolen Jesus's body. But was she surprised later on the road when she saw him? Yes. So color your pictures really neat, and you'll have this book. And I want you can maybe go through this book a couple times this weekend just to think about what Jesus did for us, because Jesus loved us so much. He loved us so much that he died on the cross for us. But remember, he even told his disciples at the Last Supper, but I'm going to come back. I'm going to a place for you, and we'll see each other again. But he kind of was telling them that the time was coming. So go through that story some this weekend, because Easter is such a special time. And I hope that you are getting just as excited about Sunday as I am. So whatever Bible you have at home, maybe your mom and dad can read it out of a different Bible, read the story out of a different Bible, and you can look at your pictures and kind of put all of that together. Well, we have a little surprise. I feel like our caterpillars are changing a lot every day. Some of these guys have gotten really big. And do you see, now you can see all that webbing that they're making. It's getting really messy. It's getting really messy. But the funny thing is, some of them are going to start to attach to the top of the roof. And they're going to use all of this webbing, and they're going to start spinning. And I hope that they don't do it before Monday, because it's really cool to kind of watch. They almost spin in a circle when they start using all of that webbing. So here they are. A couple of them are still on the ground eating. We've got 1 or 2 that are trying to attach to the roof. So we'll see how it happens over the next couple of days. But I have a story that I'm going to share. It's called A Caterpillar's Wish. A Caterpillar's Wish. And here's the front of our book, the back of our book, and the spine. Remember, we also want to make sure we're always treating our books really nice. So when you get to kindergarten, you get to go to the library and check out books. That's super cool. Okay. A Caterpillar's Wish. One spring day, Chad Caterpillar was chewing his favorite kind of leaves. And Janet Ladybug flew by Chad. Chad wished he could fly like Janet Ladybug. Chad Caterpillar said hello to Janet Ladybug and asked her to eat lunch with him. Janet joined him for lunch. Chad ate leaves and Janet ate little white bugs, and they had a wonderful time. Chad told Janet that he wished he could fly just like her. He asked Janet to tell him how to fly. Janet told Chad that he needed wings in order to fly. Chad did not have any wings, and this made him very sad. He began to cry and eat more leaves. All of a sudden, Janet saw something happening to Chad. He seemed to be changing. Janet could not believe her eyes. She asked Chad what was happening, because he looked very strange. Look, Chad said that he didn't know what was happening to him. but he did know that he was feeling very different. Soon, Chad disappeared into a big green shape. Janet called to Chad, but he did not answer. He was gone. Janet felt very sad and lonely, and she began to cry. Many days went by, and then one day, the big green shape started to crack. Janet Ladybug stopped eating the little white bugs so that she could watch the big green shape. Janet was very surprised to see a big butterfly pop out of the big green shape, and Janet asked the butterfly what had happened to Chad Caterpillar. The butterfly said that he was Chad Caterpillar, all grown up. Now, Chad had wings and could fly just like his friend Janet. Chad's wish had come true. He was very happy. And Janet was happy too because her best friend was back. The happy butterfly and ladybug flew off together and they lived happily ever after. The end. What happened to Chad the Caterpillar? What happened to him? He turned into a weird big green shape at first, and that's called a chrysalis, and we're going to talk more about that next week. And then after he was in the chrysalis for a while, out popped the butterfly. He got his wings. All right, well, I am super excited for next week because next week we're going to change our focus wall. Next week we're going to do some butterfly things and get ready to see an amazing change that's going to happen with our caterpillars. So I hope that you have an incredible Easter weekend. I have missed you so much. I've thought about you a lot on Wednesday. Wednesday was supposed to be our Easter parties and our egg hunts, and it was just such a beautiful day, but I trust that you're going to do some fun stuff with your mom and dad this weekend, and just know that Miss Nicole loves you very much, and I can't wait to see you later on our Zoom at 11:30. I'm going to send mom and dad the link here in just a little bit.